Right back, guys. Okay, that was. I just want to quickly sort something out. Very quickly. I want to do part 2. I just warmed up some tea. So we've got a little while, yeah, before my wife gets home. Got a nice cup of cha. What more do you want? So it takes a few minutes for you to get on. Got Elvis on in the background. Okay, guys. Oh, yes, my back is hurting today. Let's just let everyone know that we are live again. And where's my phone? Let's get the phone. 1 second. More than just the day. So I've already found a few documentaries that I want to play for you guys. Right, let's tell a few people that we're live. So it's still very Christmassy in my kitchen in Southwest UK. The name's Louis, defending Elvis Presley. Fans want the truth. Hi, Roses. How are you? Have you been on before? Let me know what country you're in. I'm just going to tell Team Elvis that we're on because we had to quickly go. So let me just tell everyone, live now. I know that YouTube is supposed to notify everyone, but it doesn't work very well. So I end up having to message everyone. Florida, cool. I have a friend who lives in Florida. And he runs a chain of restaurants. So let me just get his name up. I'll tell you the name of the restaurants. Right, let me get his name up. Obviously, you're not going to know him. Florida's a big place, but you'll know the restaurants. Let's have a look. The restaurants are called Applebee's Grill and Bar. Roses. Have you heard of Applebee's Grill and Bar? So my friend lives in Tampa. In Tampa. Anywhere near you, Roses? Is that near you? Applebee's Grill and Bar, Tampa, Florida. And he runs a whole chain of them or something. Are they good? Are they good restaurants? Yes. Right. So we're just basically, we're Team Elvis. We come together. We defend Elvis and Lisa and the bloodline. But also we're an Elvis channel. So we read books and we have different topics. At the moment, we are reviewing Charlie's Hodge is a documentary. We're halfway into it. We've done part 1. This is going to be part 2. So yeah, we're looking forward to Elvis's birthday. He's going to be 90, isn't he, guys? The big question is, will Priscilla be there? Will Priscilla be there? Does anyone think Priscilla is going to be there? So I see, what time was Elvis born? While we're waiting for everyone, what time was Elvis born? See if it comes up. Right, let's just read it, shall we? Elvis born January the 8th, 1935 at 4:35 a.m. in Mississippi, Tupelo. Elvis was born to Gladys and Vernon in a 2-room shotgun, East Tupelo. His identical twin brother, Jesse Garon, was stillborn earlier that morning. Elvis grew up as an only child. That's what comes up on Google. I always find that interesting. So I wonder, I'm just going to read this whilst we're waiting for people to join us, because we're going to do the Charlie Hodge thing. Wonder what other information it will give us on Google. I find these things fascinating, to be honest with you. You just type it in. American singer and actor regarded as one of the most significant cultural icons of the 20th century. He is often referred to as the king of rock and roll and simply the king, and one of the most famous entertainers in history. His notoriety became worldwide with a carnal sneer and a Memphis bop suit. He swiveled across the stage on hot wired legs. He had 107 top 40 hits, more than twice that of the Beatles, 41 gold LPs, the most successful recording artist ever. Presley's persona touched millions of fans, and decades after his death, he is still an icon with a huge following. His records continue to sell at popular CDs. In his 33 films, do people buy CDs? People don't buy CDs anymore, do they, guys? His 33 films still spin off the racks of video stores, and some 15,000 licensed retail products bear his name or image. His Memphis home, Graceland, was opened to the public in 1982. Now, this is part of Defending Elvis. Priscilla tries to say that she thought of the idea of the museum. She did not. She did not. We've already proved it. She tries to say that she saved Graceland. She did not. We've proved it. Anyway, that's a Defending Elvis thing. Attracting over 500,000 visitors annually, it became the second most visited home in the United States after a White House. Hi, Pat. I'm just reading this while people join us. He was born to Vernon on the 10th of April, 1916. Let's have a look. I'm not sure. The 10th of April, 1916. I don't know what that date is. That must be Vernon's date of birth. Gladys, 25th of April, 1912. I'm guessing that's her date of birth. Then they go in a 2-room shotgun house that his father built for the occasion. His identical twin brother, Jesse Garrett Presley, was delivered 35 minutes before him, stillborn. Presley became close to both parents and formed an especially close bond with his mother. She suffered from depression and took medication for this and for her weight problem. Now remember, this is a Google thing, yeah? So then we've got, as a young man, he started to take his mother's diet pills and antidepressants. Well, we don't know that, do we? As a young man, he started to take his mother's diet pills and antidepressants. Is that true? So I've never heard of that. Later in his life, he always carried a kit of medications that included Dexedrine, Percodon, Seconal, Nembutol, and 10,000 in cash. His driver's license, a makeup, jewelry box, police badge, and some pictures. His generosity to strangers is well documented, always smiling and gracious. He found it difficult to be alone, especially in bed. His habit was to sleep all day with the windows taped so the sun wouldn't get in. He lived and traveled like a potentate with bodyguards that carried large guns. See, look, the whole wording of that is quite negative, isn't it, guys? It's quite, oh, you know, he had drugs and he had big guns and he needed bodyguards and he taped his windows. This is why we defend Elvis, because the whole write-up here is to make you think Elvis is odd. Whilst in the military, stationed in Germany, he met his future wife, teenager Priscilla Bulow, in 1959, following an 8-year courtship during which Presley moved her to Nashville. You see, that isn't the truth. That isn't the truth. Let me just top up my tea, guys. We can carry on reading a bit of this. I actually find it interesting that you can go on to Google and read a load of read the truth twisted. Yeah, this is why we're defending Elvis. warm that up properly. Come on. We want warm tea, not cold tea. It's exactly why we defend Elvis, because you go onto Google or Wikipedia, isn't it, guys? You go onto Google and Wikipedia and you read a bunch of lies. Let me just see what this is. This is Astro Data Bank. I'm going to keep reading it. I find it quite interesting. I want to go through the lies. There's not much more. We'll read this bit, guys, just for a bit of a giggle, yeah? Okay, that'll keep me going. Right. I've got my tea. That'll keep me going during this show. I've had too much tea. So I've drank way too much tea, way too much coffee. So hopefully we're going to carry on with the Charlie Hodge documentary. We're halfway in it. Part 1 was on the last live stream. Welcome to Defending Elvis. Welcome to Team Elvis. We're just quickly reading this while you guys join us, because obviously I had to cut off quickly on the last show. So we've just put it into Google, Elvis's date of birth, and that is his birthday on the 8th. And then I'm reading what information the public are supposed to believe. Don't forget, if you're a non-Elvis fan and you don't know much about Elvis, you're going to read this and believe every word of it. Now, half of what's written here has been twisted in a negative way to make Elvis look bad, to portray Elvis as a druggie, a serial adulterer, to blame Elvis for all the wrongdoing to Priscilla. It's just wrong. This whole write-up is wrong, but let's read it a bit more. Whilst in military, stationed in Germany, he met his future wife, teenager. See how they put the word in teenager? Now, what they should do is say he just met her briefly in Germany for around 6 months. They were just friends, no sex. Then he didn't see her for nearly 2 years. That's what they should say. Yes, Pat, I loved it. I love my Christmas. Christmas Day, cooking-wise, my wife didn't like it. She got quite stressy about the cooking. I would have happily cooked, but my wife likes to do it her way. She wants to cook the Christmas dinner her way, so she was a bit stressed during the cooking of the... But other than that, we had a lovely time. We had a lovely time. I've loved my Christmas. The kids have had the best Christmas they've ever had, ever. Anyway, Roses, you make the famous peanut butter and sandwich. Yeah, Roses. I bet it tastes lovely. I've never made it. It was on Christmas. Yeah, Pat, it was on Christmas Day, but actually Boxing Day yesterday and today has been very relaxed. Hi, Blessed. We have Christmas with my son-in-law and daughter today. Finally get to open our gifts. All right, you've left that late. Blessed to Crochet. Don't forget, Blessed to Crochet has her own channel, guys. She does live streams. I've been on there a couple of times, Blessed, and watched your live streams. Did you know that? So if any of you guys want to see Blessed, pop over to her live streams. You can have a nice chat with her. Blessed, did you know that I was on your live stream? Right. Let's have a look. So they give the impression she's 14, but really it was just a brief friendship. Then they give the impression, following an 8-year courtship during which Presley moved her to Nashville, Tennessee, they married on the 1st of May 1967. But that isn't true. They didn't have an 8-year courtship. This is why we're called Defending Elvis. He briefly met her in 1963, end of 62, 63. She moves over to stay with Vernon and Dee when she was nearly 18. They were not a couple. The relationship didn't really properly start until 63, and even then it was more, Elvis classed himself as a single man. Yeah, so I think she moved over in hope that maybe Elvis would settle down, in hope maybe Elvis would marry her. So this bit here that says they had an 8-year courtship and then got married is bullshit. Don't believe everything you read, guys. So then it goes on to say, they married May the 1st, 1967. At 9:41 a.m. in Las Vegas, Nevada, their daughter, Lisa Marie, was born 9 months later to the day on the 1st of February in 1968. But the marriage became increasingly tumultuous. Well, the truth is, yeah, I've been on your channel, blessed. But the truth is, we'll do, Elizabeth, we're doing part 2 of Charlie Hodge, but I'm just, whilst I was waiting for you guys to join, I was just reading what's written on Google about Elvis, and I'm just disagreeing with the things that are being said. So the truth is, the reason the marriage became increasingly tumultuous, is the word they use here, is because Priscilla was unfaithful 2 months after Lisa Marie was born. But that isn't in here. This is it. They put in the comments to make Elvis look bad, to blame everything on Elvis, make Elvis look like the bad guy and Priscilla look like the victim, when the truth is she was unfaithful. She was unfaithful. They should throw that in. They were not together for 8 years prior to the marriage. That's another lie. Yeah. During their marriage, while on tour, if Priscilla wasn't with him, Presley would ask Ace to troll for girls so he could spend the night with. It's just, what a horrible write-up. He kept books on astrology and numerology so he would have topics of conversation. Well, that's, yes, I know he was interested in astrology and numerology and spiritualism and the Bible and many other books, but not to create conversation. He was just truly interested. Right, here we go. More lies, guy. More lies. So later in life, due to poor eating habits, his weight soared to 250 pounds. He wrapped himself in saran wrap before dressing to look slimmer, but this just made it more difficult for him to breathe. It's just bullshit, guys. A sensitive person, he was hurt by many people when his bodyguards wrote an expose of his life. His first comment was, what Lisa Marie going to think about this? His second comment was, what are the fans going to think about this? Of course, we know the book was a massive betrayal. Where is it? I've always got it here, but I always lose it. It's quite a small book. But Red West, Sunny West, Dave Hebler, that was a no-no. Should never have written that book, guys. I know that 2 of them are dead now, but Dave Hebler needs to just say sorry and show regret, and then the fans will forgive him. He's an old man now. I don't think there's any point in giving him any hate. He's too old now, guys. Right, let's read this last bit. Presley died of heart failure August 16th, 1977 at 2:50 p.m. at the CDT in Memphis, Tennessee. There were many prescription drugs found on the premises in his system. Yes, because he was chronically sick. Elvis was seriously sick, a very unwell man. He needed his prescribed medication. The following autopsy found Presley's liver bloated, his colon to be stretched to twice the normal size. But there was a reason, guys. There was a reason he was unwell. And here they say, due to a buildup of chalky white fecal matter, both sides of severe drugs abuse. So the whole, they're really trying to paint him out to be a complete drug addict, aren't they, guys? It's just, when there's much more to the story. Even obviously there's the Dr. Forrest Tennant's book, but obviously we've got Sally Hoddle's book, which I'm not mad about, but where is it? I'm trying to see where it is, which tries to explain why Elvis was chronically unwell, chronically sick. I don't believe Elvis was destined to die young. I really don't believe that. So I'm actually a bit offended by the title of the book. But I do believe Elvis inherited some serious chronic problems with his health as a child. I really do. So his body, as he became more unwell, started to break down, didn't it? So he needed these medications. He turned to his doctor. He was desperate. He was in pain. He was in discomfort. So, yeah, he needed a lot of prescribed medications. The toxicology report found toxic levels of codeine. Well, yeah, painkillers. he was in a lot of pain. Quaaludes and 6 other drugs in his system. Presley is the best-selling solo music artist of all. He was commercially successful in many genres, including pop, country, blues, gospel. He won 3 Grammy Awards, received the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award at the age of 36, which is amazing, and has been inducted into the multiple Music Halls of Fame. He holds the record for the most RIAA certified gold platinum albums. In 2018, President Trump awarded Presley with the Presidential Medal of Freedom for posthumously. Can't even say that. Posthumously. I can't say that. Well, okay. So then we've got, you click on relationships. Oh no, you expect to see girlfriends. It doesn't. It just talks about different people that he worked with, like Tom Parker and Margaret. It's even got Sybil Shepherd here. It's got Linda Thompson, Natalie Wood, then his daughter, Lisa Marie Presley. And then it goes on to his spouse, so Benjamin and Riley. It's interesting, but a lot of this, guys, is just wrong, isn't it? A lot of this is just being twisted. Anyway, let's get to what we're here for. We're going to carry on watching the documentary with Charlie Hodge. We're on part 2. We've already done part 1. Whilst I'm playing it, guys, I'll read your comments. So I just wanted to give you guys a chance to join us, because I know that obviously with the notifications just don't seem to work out, do they? So we just wait. I just wait for you guys to realize that we're live. So we were 30 minutes into it, and then I'm going to read your comments, guys. So remember, we are reviewing this. Remember, we're reviewing Charlie Hodge's documentary about his friendship with Elvis, how he met Elvis and their life together. And then once we've reviewed it, I'm going to post the whole video, which is 60 minutes long, onto the video channel. So we have the live streams and we have the video channel. It's all the same channel, Defending Elvis Presley. It does take me a little while to download it, upload it. So at some point today or tomorrow, I will upload the full documentary of Charlie Hodge. Okay, guys, let's keep watching this, and we're gonna every now and then we're gonna cut in and we're gonna review the last 30 minutes of this documentary. It's very interesting, guys. Okay.
Rehearse as many as 40, 50 numbers. And people say, well, how do you get a show out of that? You got to rehearse a show. Well, what we did is what we rehearsed, I took and made a show out of it.
Whenever we start to do something, Charlie, you take it, Elvis sung started singing a song that nobody knew, and Charlie knew that we did. So he would point the stamps and even give us the chord to sing with, to sing the background with Elvis.
Charlie always stood there and supported Elvis, and of course encouraged him. Elvis always had to have a lot of encouragement. But you know, it's real funny. Elvis didn't think he could dance. He didn't think he could play a piano or guitar. And how many times I heard him say, oh, man, I can't sing this. But Charlie and, of course, the Jordanaires and various ones were there to tell him, yes, you can, and you're going to, and you can do a good job. And the results came out very great. So that became my job to lay out the shows. And subject always to Elvis's approval, of course. And so once we started working in Nevada, we'd do a rehearsal, and I'd lay out a show, and Elvis said, yeah, that'd be good. Then maybe later on, about halfway through, Charlie said, you think we could do such and such song, something else rehearsal? Yeah, we can put it right here. He said, well, let's put that in there tonight. So put that in, and then he decided he didn't want to lose that other number. See? So then I would tell him, well, they're about the same tempo, so talk between the song, and then people won't notice it when you go back into it, say the same tempo. Because he'd be doing a song, and he wouldn't want to throw it away. Over the years, with songs that he did on stage or songs that he planned to do on stage, we had over 500 orchestrations that he could have done at any time.
If he just called it out, the music was there.
Charlie Hodge, I think Charlie had a whole lot to do with Elvis's stage performance. I don't mean Elvis's personal performance. I'm talking about the production on the stage, where the band was, what songs. And Charlie, if Elvis drew a blank for a moment, says Charlie, where are he? Elvis would throw out a song like, well, One Night or The One Review. Charlie knew the tempo of the music, where Elvis may get involved with the audience, or Elvis may be making a speech, introducing the band. Charlie always had the song list there, and they knew the tempo of the songs and what songs would go over at certain situations. And so Elvis would look to Charlie, and Charlie would, under his breath, you wouldn't hear him, but he would call out a song title.
I'd have to say that Charlie Hodge was, outside of Elvis, the most important man in the Elvis Presley show.
Well, one by one they came. I mean, the best of the best. We had Jerry Sheff on bass, Larry Mahorak on piano, John Wilkerson on rhythm guitar, and the great James Burton on lead guitar. And that fantastic Ronnie Tudd on drums. And I took the acoustic guitar and I sang with Elvis. Larry only made the first engagement for us, and then Glenn Harden joined us with his piano after the next opening. Elvis then called in the Imperials Quartet and the Sweet Inspirations. And one of the Sweet Inspirations, it was 4 of them at that time, was Cissy Houston, the mother of Whitney Houston. And we began to plan the show. We went and we caught Barbara Streisand, who was kicking off the first month at the New International Hotel. And this is the same stage that Elvis would be on, you see. So he began looking at it to see, it was such a big stage that you looked alone out there. Barbara looked like she was by herself. And he wanted to have people around him, so we had the big orchestra. And he got this idea from going to see Barbara and Tom Jones, who, Tom and Elvis had been friends for just years. And he, seeing these stages and what Tom would wear and everything, he decided what he wanted to wear and kind of how the lighting should be. And from watching all these shows, see, he could get an idea of what was happening in Las Vegas today, see. Elvis decided that he didn't think he'd feel comfortable in a tuxedo. So what he did is, he was in karate, and in karate they have an outfit there where it's called a gi. So he and Priscilla designed kind of a modernized gi. And that way he could have freedom of movement on stage.
Love it.
And do some of those great moves he did when he was singing the
Wow.
song. We started planning what we were going to do in 1969 before we opened in Las Vegas. And at first Elvis didn't want to use his guitar. He thought it'd just come out without it. And we sat down and we talked about it. And I said, well, gee, everybody's used to seeing you. Like your first album had that picture of you and the guitar on it. And maybe we can use it the first 2 numbers and then lose it. And so he said, yeah, that'd work. So come out, and then different things developed from that, like him hitting me in the stomach with the guitar. Nothing of that was ever really planned. And then he used to just hand me the guitar after he finished the second number. And then he got where he'd kind of lob it over to me, And then he started doing these karate workout things.
Cool. Love it, guys.
And everything. And
woo!
I'm waiting back there. Where's he going? Where's he going? And then one night, instead of turning around and lobbing it to me, he just threw it over his head like that. Well, from then on, I caught the guitar. I never missed it one time. But if you can see the later videos where I'm catching the guitar, the orchestra actually had a period they put there. They waited, and when you saw me catch the guitar, Joe Garcia had the orchestra go, dun, as I call it, big chord. So those things just developed. Nothing was ever planned. Everything worked off of Elvis and became part of the show. And the rehearsals before the opening were marathons. And the intensity and excitement was building, and everybody felt it. We'd rehearse all night long sometimes. Somebody asked me one time, what all I did on stage for Elvis. And it was a number of things. Like I laid out the shows, subject to Elvis's approval, of course. And if he wanted to change a song during the show, then it was my job to get it lined back up so that the orchestra could keep their music, in line. Of course, the way the music's laid out that way, And then another thing I do is, like, Elvis, like on the, the way he worked and everything, at the end of the song sometimes, he'd just be totally out of breath. So I'd help hold his note for him. So if he's out of breath, I'd be hanging on to it. And then to help me in case I gave out of breath, it was Ed Enoch with the Stamps Quartet. He'd be holding the note too. So Elvis was covered,
Charlie was always there to hit the high note in case Elvis didn't quite make it or didn't want to make it. Charlie was always there to hand him a scarf and to hit that high note if Elvis wanted him to. And it seemed like Charlie always knew when to do it.
Somebody was asking me, like I said, about one of these one time. They said, well, you gave Elvis his scarves and water. You laid the show out. You told him what was coming up next. You were more or less Elvis's stage director. I said, well, I never thought about it that way. I was never given that title, but I guess I was.
Charlie was sort of Elvis's go-between. He was Elvis's stage musical director.
Yeah.
Even though
Me
there was
too,
a big band director, but Charlie really was the guy who told Elvis's band, like, Elvis is going to work this new song in tonight. We're going to rehearse for it, and he wants you guys to do this, this, and this. Charlie had a great deal to do with Elvis's stage performance, but people are not aware of that.
What happened the night July 26th can only be described as a desert explosion. It was awesome, a cosmic event. It was pure Elvis. It was built on dramatics. I mean, we would have these beautiful introductions and these big dramatic endings. Wow. So it's built on dramatics, and Elvis loved that. He loved it. I think that's one of the things he used to, when he used to, and he was a little boy in Memphis, he used to go down to Overton Square and listen to the orchestras play the symphony music with those big endings and everything. And then when that developed into where he had these type of big endings and arrangements in his own songs, I think it inspired him and gave him more energy, to have these big things with him now that he observed as a child and admired. If you ever talk with anyone who was there for any of those concerts, they'll tell you they laughed, they cried, they stood. They experienced something you do only once in a lifetime. On that opening night in Vegas in 1969, boy, there were so many big just superstars, that came to see Elvis, and there was a whole booth section there down front, and there was nothing but stars there, Cary Grant was there, and he came backstage after the show that night, and he said, I got to tell you this. Cary Grant's one of those beautiful people that when he sees beauty, whether it's an art form or a painting, a statue, he gets tears in his eyes. He gets emotional, And they said that the whole time he was in the booth back there watching Elvis' performance, he just wiped his eyes through the whole thing.
Okay, guys. Let's see if I can play that clip, yeah? I'm hoping... Oops. Let me just pause it. Come on. Hang on, guys. Let's see if we can find the Cary Grant clip. Let me get my stand. I think Cary Grant is in this clip with Sammy Davis Jr. and a few others. Let's play it, yeah? I know that Elvis was really, really proud of his comeback. He looks amazing. Right, let's have a look. Right, are we ready, guys? Let's go to the beginning. Amazing. There he is, Cary Grant from Bristol. My boy, my boy. Guy looks good. Wow. Thanks, Vincenzo. There he is, Cary Grant from Bristol. Well, I wanted, because Cary Grant was mentioned, I wanted to quickly play that. Let's carry on with the Charlie Hodge documentary, because I've only got so much time, so I want to make sure we finish this. There's still 20 minutes left of this, but I'm a big fan of Cary Grant. Elvis there just looked, wow, unbelievable. I love Sammy Davis Jr. as well. Mr. Bojangles.
Elvis, are you going to take this show on the road? He said, yes, sir, we plan to. He said, oh, that's good. The people should see you. He said, it's so beautiful. And Yul Brynner came backstage one night, and it was that magnificent, big, manly voice of his. You know, he said, Elvis, thank you for the enormous amount of pleasure you've given us.
I love Yul Brynner.
This is very elegant, you know. And Sammy Davis Jr., of course, every time we played Vegas, I think,
Mr. Bojangles.
He wouldn't sit in the booth. He wanted to be
You
right
man,
next to the stage at one of
Bojangles.
those tables. So, like he said, I can see the man work, you know.
Oh, I love him.
He was there
I
the first night
love
we
Sammy
did,
Davis Jr.
Let's Fake Their Suits, the what everybody calls
Bojangles,
2001
and he
Space Odyssey.
danced for me.
Elvis, that was Elvis's idea, by the way. He went for a drive one day, which a lot of people didn't know he could go out anywhere by himself. But he went out in his Stutz Black Hawk, and he came back and he came up to me and said, Charlie, he said, do you remember that theme on the 2001 Space Odyssey?
Oh, I love Yul Brynner.
I said, yeah. He said, that'd be a great opening. We had 37 pieces on stage in Las Vegas. The only thing is, on the road, we can only carry the brass. We couldn't carry the reeds and strings. The only time we ever used the reeds and the strings on location like that.
Oh, yeah, I love Candyman.
At Madison Square Garden. And then it was conducive there to use the strings and the reeds and the brass. But the whole thing was dramatic.
Yeah, dramatic.
Elvis would want me to play games with him. He didn't want to look like he was picking on me. Like he'd come over sometime and he would like take a drink of water and then throw water on me, and then he'd say just over his shoulder, throw some on me. So it looked like that we were playing with each other, and it wasn't just him picking on me, which I would do. And sometimes I'd take a kick at him just as he walked off and just barely miss him, you know, something like that.
I love it.
Those things that weren't planned, you know, like it's like Elvis coming over at the end of the show, and we'd been on stage like 45 minutes or 55 minutes. He said, what's next on? And I'd tell him what's next. He said, I don't feel like doing that. What's next? I'd tell him that. I don't feel like doing that. I said, well, look, we're already done 55 minutes. Do funny how time slips away and let's go home. He said, okay. One night we were playing an engagement somewhere. I don't know where it was. But Elvis saw these two young ladies down at the edge of the stage, and they had a birthday cake that they had prepared for it. And Elvis got down, and he was thanking them. And when he looked up, he had that look in his eyes. He's up to something, you know? And I said, uh-oh, here it comes. In front of 18,000 people, here it comes. And he did. As soon as he said thank you and turned around, he just come over his shoulder with that. And I threw my hand up in front of my face and caught the cake on the back of my hand. Went around behind it and grabbed it like that. But to the audience, it looked like it hit me right in the face. I managed to just get a little bit of icing on my shoulders, and that's it. But it wasn't planned. It was something that happened. You didn't get angry about it. It was just part of the show.
Yeah, it's funny.
Like, you know, some lady threw panties on the stage, you know, and he come back and put them on my head, and big old JD's he'd go over there and put panties on his head, you know. JD and I got the results.
Love it, absolutely love it.
On stage.
The first time I met Elvis Presley, he was just a kid, and he would come to the sings in Memphis when he was 14 years old as a boy. and would hang around backstage, asking me everything in the world about how you get into show business. And I've said many times I wished I could remember what I told him, because I love to do that myself.
We toured anywhere from 12 days to 16 days every month. And in between touring, we'd have like 2 to 3 weeks off, and we'd go down to Palm Springs and stay, or sometimes.
Ooh, Cherie, wow.
Sometimes we'd check into a hotel up in L.A. so Elvis could see Lisa Marie for a while. And then we kept improving the show, upgrading, adding songs. I never will forget one night we were on a West Coast tour, and I was riding in the limousine with Elvis, and he leaned over and he said, "Charlie, I want to do How Great Thou Art tonight." I said, "I'm the only one that knows it." He said, "Well, you go to the piano and play it then." So when I got there, I went straight over to the band and the voice and everything, because they all knew the song, and such professionals. All you had to do is explain to them how it was going to go, and they'd be able to do it. And I said, "Glenn D, I'll sit at the piano and play it until you learn Elvis's phrasing on it."
Etc.
Okay, so we started out with a song we hadn't even rehearsed. And I sat at the piano and I played it for the next 3 engagements until the band learned it, and Glenn D learned his phrasing and everything. And then Joe Gershio wrote an orchestration for it. And without ever rehearsing the song, we ended up with a complete orchestration and one of the greatest songs in the show. There was one event that seemed to trigger a different mood in Elvis. I mean, he was fond of most of his cousins, and there was few he loved, and they were around all the time. I remember one night in Vegas, he got a phone call, and one of his cousins, a very beautiful lady, had died. And he turned to me and he said, "Charlie, I don't think I can stand to see another member of my family die.
No.
I think I'd rather go first myself."
Get sad now, guys.
If there was anybody that was ever a friend,
we're going to start crying now,
to Elvis Presley, it was Charlie Hodge.
Elvis seemed to be, fascinated with life after death. He was reading a lot of books in those days, like on metaphysics and philosophy, but he never got away from the Bible. He always would read his Bible. And you love to talk about different philosophies, everything, and he'd really get excited talking about some of these things.
Oh, Songbird, Helen, I'm so happy for
I remember
you.
one time we were going to Vegas, and we was taking the back way from Palm Springs through the desert, and Elvis began talking, and the more he talked, the slower he'd drive. I think he was everything he hated in other drivers, just drive along. Before you know it, he was doing 15, 20 miles an hour and talking. And it took so long to get to Vegas. I think Lamar said he felt like a trailblazer or something. Elvis didn't even realize he was slowing down that much. He didn't. I remember one time when we were on tour, I went up to Elvis and I said, "Elvis, after this tour is over, I think I'm going to, take a trip to Hawaii. I was going to go there by myself, just get away from everybody and relax." And Elvis said, "Charlie, you can't do that." So I think we may be doing some recordings after this tour is over. And then I didn't know it at the time, but he called Joe Esposito and said, "Joe said, get everybody together, because as soon as this tour is over, we're all going to Hawaii on a vacation." So he was going to surprise me, because Elvis would think about other people. And what he did is, after I found out about it, then we had 2 sections, because the plane only held 28 people, see. And I got everybody together in Memphis, and I got them as far as L.A. And Joe Esposito had flown on to Hawaii and set up everything there. So once we got to L.A., that was all I could do, because the next stop is Hawaii, because it's the longest distance between the U.S. mainland and Hawaii is the longest distance that you can fly without being able to land somewhere. And so we got over there, and that was Elvis's last holiday. Was
Oh.
over in Hawaii.
It's
And
sad.
I remember one time, because the girlfriend he had then was going off and doing her own thing, laying on the beach with her sisters and everything. And he said, at least Charlie's having a good time. He's getting to visit with his friends. Elvis and I used to sit and talk, and then he'd talk about how he'd like to go back to Europe, you know, and he'd like to tour England, and especially Germany and France, you know, where we'd gone while we were in the military. And there seemed to be an urgency about it in his voice. You know, he began to mention things like playing touch football, you know, when we're in Bad Nauheim. And his eyes, you know, kind of had a haunting look in them, you know. He said, you know, Charlie, I'd like to go back over there where I still look like what the fans think I look like.
One thing I've picked up here is that no matter where you were, Elvis always had a deep sense of love for his fans, no matter where it was. I guess the word you'd want to use that you could sum up Elvis's whole life in a 4-letter word, and that's love.
I think Elvis's probably his happiest times was when he was on stage, when he's performing for the fans.
Agree with that, guy.
He's most happy then. I remember once when they were filming the last concert thing we did, and the director came up and said, Mr. Presley, is there anything that you would like us to do? And Elvis said, yes, sir. Said, as much as possible, try to keep the cameras out from in front of the fans, because they paid their good money to come see the show, and I want to give them the best possible show I can. And that was Elvis. There used to be all the guys were around every day, all being all, you know, it's just like a big boys club, you know, being around Graceland or the house in L.A. But then as we grew older and the guys were married and their children were growing up themselves, we didn't have everybody there all the time. Everybody come there when we had to go on tour. They come there for a special occasion. But like at Graceland, the rest of the guys would be off with their families and everything, and it'd be me and Billy Smith there. And Elvis didn't want you to get out of his sight, you know. I remember one Christmas, I was going home for Christmas, and Elvis looked at me and said, Charlie, you got to where you do this every year. I said, well, Elvis, it's Christmas, and that's my mom and dad. He said, oh, okay. He had forgotten I had a mother and dad, and I was visiting them. All he knew to do is I was leaving home, and he wanted me there.
We were a very close-knit group. Elvis he loved all the musicians, Scotty Moore, DJ Fontana, and all the musicians that worked with him. He loved all the Jordanaires, Millie Kirkham, Kathy Westmoreland, all the many people that worked with him. It was like one big family, because first of all, Elvis did not have brothers or sisters. So people like Charlie and all of us, we were like a very close-knit family, and I shall always treasure that.
You know, Elvis is one of the few people I ever met who had the spirit of Christmas year-round. I can't begin to tell you all the things he gave away to people over the years. He gave millions in cars and jewels and horses, boats, dogs. He supported 50 charities in Memphis alone. You never read much in the press about that. I remember one night when I was sitting upstairs with Elvis in his bedroom, and it was one of those nights when there wasn't anybody around, and you could feel the loneliness that seemed to be encircling Graceland. And Elvis was talking about how the guys just weren't around much anymore.
Wow.
You know, he said, it's like when we're on the road. I don't see them until time for the show. And they pick me up and take me to the show, and then they deliver me back to the room like it was a side of meat or something. And then they go and do their thing.
Oh, it's sad that he felt that way.
It's just not like it used to be, is it, Charlie? And I said, no, it's not. And all the time Elvis was talking, he'd be stretching his hands, you know, like that, and he'd take his feet and you know, and turn them back and stretch them. And he said it was like he was sore, you know, just all over his whole body. And I know that me and Billy Smith, his
Hi,
cousin,
Baroness.
a lot of times we'd be up there and he'd say, "Would you mind rubbing my back with some of that lotion?" I said, "My body just seems to be aching and sore all over." I guess he thought it was from working as hard as you did on stage, you know. He, you know, in retrospect and looking back, now you can see what the problem was. But it was much later and too late when we found out. Elvis told me one night when we were doing concerts, he said, "Charlie, about halfway through the show, I'm just totally exhausted." And I noticed that, you know, his eyes, you know, they looked tired. You know, he was tired, that's all. At least that's what we all thought. Larry Geller probably was responsible for bringing Elvis more books that he enjoyed reading than anyone else. I know that shortly before Elvis died, he brought a list to me of books he wanted Larry to bring in from Hollywood. And while I was on the phone to Larry, Elvis got on the phone. Larry said, "I want those books right now, so you come in early." And Larry said, "I will," but he didn't. He came in the 15th of August. And he gave me the books, and I took them upstairs, and Elvis was asleep. I put them where he could get them, put the Shroud of Turin, Italy on it, on top. And then when we found Elvis, the book that was he'd been reading there, the last book he read was the Shroud of Turin, Italy. But always his favorite book, and the book he read more than any other book, he always had one beside him in every bed he slept in, whether it was a motel room, a hotel room, or his home. He had the Bible. The Bible was Elvis's favorite book.
You were with him in the good times and the bad times. And as his closest friend, Charlie, please take time and tell us about the end.
There were all kind of rumors after Elvis' death. There was, you know, fantastic stories, and most of them just rumors and nothing more. There's no truth to it. They discovered during the autopsy that the right side of Elvis's heart was twice as big as the left side.
Wow, big side.
And that he had already had 3 heart attacks already and didn't even know it. And of course, he had a bad liver, just like his mother did, and they were trying to fix that. And he had always had a trouble with high blood pressure, and his mother had that. Same thing. And also he had glaucoma, and he had to take medicine for that. And one day I was over visiting Mr. Presley at his house, and Elvis' friend, Dr. Ntopoulos, came over and told us something that kind of cleared up a lot of things we'd thought about, of why Elvis was always so sore and everything. And Dr. Nick told this to Mr. Presley, and then looked at me and said, "Charlie, this is in strictest confidence." And we didn't mention it to anybody. I didn't mention it myself to anyone until after Mr. Presley had died, and then I put it in my book. And what they discovered was that Elvis had bone cancer, and it had spread over his entire body. So that kind of explains stretching and wanting the body rub. He was hurting, and there was pain from that, and he didn't even know what it was, and we didn't either. I don't know the answers about life and death. I do know Elvis had faith in God, and it never wavered. All I can tell you is that a bright, vibrant life, an exceptional soul, walked over with me on a Memphis stage one night. I traveled around the world with him. I was privileged to share some of his most private moments, and I witnessed his unequaled generosity. Watched him give of himself to everyone, and I saw the impact he made on the whole world. We're all just a little bit better for his having been here.
Love that. Love this song.
I can't thank Charlie Hodge enough for the help and the guidance he's given me. We met years ago, and he has been supportive of every effort that I've ever done. He's tried to show me more tidbits about Elvis, mannerisms, and yet he's also been kind enough to allow me to be myself and find a way to do it. The reason this show is happening at the power and the effectiveness it is because of Charlie Hodge's involvement.
Yeah, it's very sad, isn't it, Tony? Won't you leave me? And just as my battery decides to run out, right, let me just plug this in. We'll have a couple of minute chat before I go. So, I mean, you know, I think we all feel the same, don't we? We all feel this sense of sadness, almost in tears, some of us in tears, and then it ends with that beautiful song, Lead Me, which I want to cry when I play it. But I think that's about as honest as you're going to get in an interview that talks about Elvis and his life, going from his army years to the day he passed. Oh, thanks, Tony. Tony just bought me a coffee. Thank you, Tony. I just think that's about as honest as it gets. I think the only bit that he got wrong in that whole interview, this is obviously part 2. We did part 1 on the last live stream, if you want to go and watch it, guys, was the Priscilla thing. I do get the sense that Charlie is trying to keep Priscilla happy with this documentary. Maybe he's sort of forced to. Maybe he didn't have a choice. I think for this documentary to come out, I think it needed Priscilla's permission. And that's why I think he speaks well of Priscilla. But the rest of the documentary is, obviously it's very old, but it's very honest and open. And I really get the feeling from Charlie that he really does speak from the heart. And he's telling us stuff that when that documentary came out, probably nobody knew many of the things. Oh, thanks, Pat. That's so cool. Pat's bought me a coffee. Anyone that buys me a coffee, thank you so much. It's very kind. I just think, yeah, there we are. Blessed says it. You can hear the love that he had for Elvis in his voice. That's as good as you can put it. Thank you, Blessed. Guys, Blessed's got a YouTube channel, Blessed to Crochet. She does live streams if you want to have a chat. But I just think, you know, yeah, Vincenzo says about the bone cancer maybe not being true, but I understand that point. But he was ill. He was unwell. Yeah, Elvis was very chronically unwell. I would say at least the last 3 years of his life. So whether it be bone cancer or heart problems, liver problems, colon problems, obviously we know about the glaucoma, blood pressure, blood sugars, doesn't really matter. He was very unwell. He was in pain and discomfort. He was a desperate man in need of help. He turned to his doctors, to the pills, to soothe him, to ease his pain, to relax him, to help him sleep, to help him wake up, to give him energy. So whatever, you know, it doesn't really matter what it was. He was unfortunately in a very sick, unwell state where he could have a heart attack at any moment. Yeah. So of course we're so sad. And I don't think you're going to get a better interview than that from a friend of Elvis. I think that's as good as you're going to get. Now, a big part of what we're doing here, I think Oh, hi, Karen. I think a big part of what we're doing here is, this is what I'm trying to do. We are Team Elvis. Yeah, Team Elvis. Obviously, defending Elvis Presley. I'm trying to find some documentaries now that we can watch together, because I think, yes, I can sit down and put the documentary on TV and I can watch it all on my own. Yeah. But there's something very different when I watch it with Team Elvis, with Elvis fans. Obviously, we're a family, we're friends, we all got to know each other. There's something very different, because whilst we're watching it, we're chatting, we're talking, we're debating, we're discussing, we're sharing our thoughts, sharing our feelings. Obviously, we know that Songbird got to meet Charlie Hodge and had quite a very emotional connection with Charlie when she met him, almost speechless. Yeah. So I just think there's something special about us coming together, putting on that vintage documentary, hearing truths about Elvis. Even though we've all seen it all before, haven't we? Most of us here have watched that documentary, haven't we? But when you watch it with friends, with family, with Team Elvis, it feels different. It feels like we're doing something together. We're experiencing our feelings, our emotions, our love, our sadness for Elvis and for Lisa. We experience it together. It just makes it completely different. And I think it's very special that we can come together like this. So my plan, guys, is I'm going to find some more vintage documentaries, interviews, and we're going to watch them together. We're going to review them. We're going to be, sometimes we will be critical. And then the day after, we will post them onto our video channel. So this Charlie Hodge documentary, I will post it so you can watch the entirety of it. It's an hour long on my video channel. I'm either going to do it tonight or tomorrow, so you guys can go and watch it again. So I think some of you will want to watch it again. And I have found, Kate, you're so late. We're about to go now. Kate, we've just done 2 live streams reviewing Charlie Hodge's interview about knowing Elvis. Yeah, way back the 1950s, meeting him at the army, and then going forward. So unfortunately, I do have to go, but we've got a different documentary that we're going to play tomorrow. That one tomorrow is a bit, it's going to get close to the knuckles. It mentions the prescribed medication and many other problems. So we're going to watch that tomorrow together. And we're going to do the same as what we did today. We might have to do it over 2 parts. And I think at the moment, I'm going to go through a phase of digging out these old interviews, these old documentaries, these old clips, and we're going to watch them together and go from there. So unfortunately, guys, I'm going to read these last few comments and then I'm going to have to go. The wife will be back soon. But I thoroughly enjoyed sitting here with you guys, watching that documentary with Charlie Hodge. I just found it, I can't explain it. It was very heartfelt, very heartfelt. Yeah, Vincenzo, I know towards the end he started losing weight. I've seen how he looked at the Hawaii holiday, and we've heard Ginger Alden's words that he was looking forward to the future. He'd been losing weight, and it looked like things were going to get better for him. It just wasn't meant to be, Vincenzo. But I'm definitely one for saying that he was not a massively overweight man. He just had a bit of a tummy, that's all. His legs and arms and shoulders were very slim. He was optimistic for the future. He was. But he was also very unwell. I really believe that. Hi, Elvis Presley fan. Hope you're well. I've enjoyed this, so guys. I'm on. If you're Elvis Presley fan, I'm on your TV. Yay! So we're going to come back tomorrow. We're going to do a couple more live streams. We're going to watch another documentary. Yeah, Songbird, we'll go in now. Right, nice to sit back and listen to your input about the Charlie Hodge video and reading the chat. All right, you've been here, Trudy. So we're just sort of doing it together, aren't we? We're just sort of going through it together. Bye, Elvis Presley fan. Blessed to Crochet. I will send you the link to Sunny West one. I know people have their mixed feelings about Sunny West, but it has a lot of great stories in it. Oh, I'd like to see that, definitely. Blessed, please send me that. Yes, we can watch that together. Yeah, he definitely had been losing weight, Finola. Definitely. He sure was, Kate. So if you want to watch part one, we did part one earlier today. Ah, Joanne, we love it, don't we? We come together, Team Elvis, taking care of business. I've really enjoyed it. Obviously, the kids have been out with my wife, so I've been able to completely relax, have a cup of tea, have a coffee, and just really relax and enjoy it without loads of... The dogs are at my wife's mother's house, so even the dogs are quiet. So it's been great. So I will be posting this Charlie Hodge video hopefully tonight, and that's it. Thanks for Senso. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So over 40 people watching. Usual, if you like what I do, get us a coffee, hit a super thank you, become a member. We've got 86 members. 86. So when we hit 100, it's only $1 a month. Once we hit 100, we're going to do something. So thanks, guys. Gotta go. I'll see you all later. I send you all love. Thanks for the coffees. Thank you for Tony and Pat for getting me a super thank you. Have a great time. See you tomorrow morning. Bye, guys.